Welcome to the tutorial of the transaction portals. Transaction portals are a huge part of Capwise hockey, so you definitely need to know how to use them and be familiar with them and be prepared to use them because every move you make needs to be recorded this way. Now, the general rule with Capwise is that you first make your move on Fantrax. Fantrax first, spreadsheet second. See, alliteration. Fantrax first, spreadsheet second. So you go to Fantrax, you make your move. Then you come to the spreadsheet and you record your move. This is done for any add, drop, buyout, promotion, demotion, injured reserve replacement, injured reserve reactivation, free drop. Anything that you could possibly do in Capwise needs to be recorded here on the spreadsheet. So again, Fantrax first, spreadsheet second. Every league has two transaction portals, TP1, TP2. The reason for that is because everyone can see what you're doing and everyone shares the same one. So if someone's using one of them, you need to jump to the other one. It generally can take up to 10 minutes for it to reset. So even though it only takes 30 seconds to come in here and do your transaction, the thing will be tied up for anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes usually. So it is fairly likely that one will be in use when you come here. Now, when you come to a transaction portal, the first thing you're going to do is choose your team name from the dropdown. That's going to do a couple things. First, it's going to turn this red. Stop, this portal is in use. Now, I've gotten this question before. Every time I try to use it, it says that it's in use. Yeah, it's in use by you. That's why it turned red. You are the one using it, so it's okay. As long as your team name is here and your team's logo is down here, so a double check there. As long as that's the case, then you're good to continue using it. Now, if you are not the Hawks, that means someone else is using it. And yeah, they might have logged on at the exact same moment you did and started using it at the exact same moment. So if that happens, just jump over to TP2 and use that one wide open. If you got to wait, if they're both in use, then you just got to wait. Come back in 15 minutes. Again, since you're doing Fantrax first and spreadsheet second, having to wait for this portal should not cost you any player. You're going to go to Fantrax and you're going to add the player. Whoever gets there first wins the player. This is just recording the move. And when you put your team name in here, the logo comes up here, as I mentioned. It also gives you a breakdown of your current roster. So this is openings. This is how much space you have left. So you have 0 openings for varsity forwards, 0 openings for varsity D, right? This is a full roster. You've got 7 openings on IR, 7 out of 7. You've got 1 opening at overager because you don't have an overager, right? So these are your openings. This team has used 7 out of their 15 promotions, so they still have 8 remaining promotions available. And their current cap space is 1.196 million. Now, the beauty of the transaction portal is that all of this information will start to change as you start to make a move. So it actually gives you a preview of what you're about to do to your cap situation. So let's say I need to move someone to IR. That's one of the most common things you're going to do all season long. I click the transaction type from the dropdown. Now you can see here there's 10 of these. So I can do up to 10 transactions on a single form. Clicking in here, there's all different types of transactions. If you want to know more about each of these individual types, you can click this little question mark up here. I'm not sure if this is going to show up on my screen share or not. Let me see if it does. It does. Okay. So here, this is going to, first of all, tell you if a team's already using the portal, don't use it, blah, blah, blah. Here's your instructions. Here's some things to be aware of. But down at the bottom here, you see every transaction type that's listed in the options here, and you see what they all mean. So that's just a good way, quick reference if you're confused about the differences. But here in this test case, I am moving someone to IR. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to skim down the list here. This is logically broken down. The stuff at the top is varsity transactions. Then you've got your JV transactions, including promote and demote. Then you've got your IR transactions. That's these 4. Below that, you've got some overager transactions. And last but not least, buyout from dropped list. So here I'm looking for IR. So I'm going to move a player to IR. Once I click move to IR, this drop down here is going to show me only the players that are actually eligible to be moved to IR. So that's any player on my varsity team. So let's say it's Stamkos going to IR. Now, did you see everything change? Let me do that one more time. I'm going to get rid of his name. Current roster openings, current cap space, etc. When I add Stamkos here, all this changes to projected. Projected roster openings, projected cap space. Now, because I got Stamkos going to IR, projected to have an opening on varsity at forward. My projected cap space goes way up to 9 million because Stamkos' salary comes off my books. The other thing that happened behind the scenes that you couldn't see is that the options of this next dropdown were reduced. You're not going to see all the options anymore. You're only going to see replace from JV or replace from free agency because those are your only two choices after you move someone to IR. You'll also notice up here in the transaction assistant, it says that you can't move a guy to IR without also replacing him. And you can see that this is red. If I tried to submit this transaction, it would not work. It would fail. And it would tell me to check the transaction assistant. This needs to be green. So I need to add a replacement. So let's say I'm going to replace him from JV. Now you can see it's green. It's happy. I'm bringing up a JV player to replace him. Now, again, because I've chosen to replace from JV, this list is going to be filtered down to only show me eligible players. So this is only going to be players on my JV roster who have an NHL contract. Those are the players that are eligible to replace Stamkos. So I see this full list here. Let's say I'm going to bring up, yeah, sure. Now you can see again, my projected roster openings drop down to 0 because now I'm bringing up Rempe, whatever. My projected cap space is down to 8 million. He doesn't cost very much, but that brought me down from over 9 down into the 8s. My JV projection. Now I've got one extra spot on JV because I'm bringing this JV player up. So he comes off my JV roster, goes to my varsity roster, which opens up that JV spot. This is a totally legal transaction. It's marked in green. I can click this box to submit it. And when I click that box, it's going to go. Now, if I were to replace him, let's just say from free agency. First of all, you can see when I replaced him from free agency, this went red because Rempe is not in free agency. He's on my JV. This list gets repopulated with all the players in free agency. So I could add anybody to replace him. Let's say I wanted to replace him with, I'm trying to find an expensive player. I'm trying to put us over the cap. So let me actually move somebody cheaper to IR and replace them with somebody expensive, but it has to be somebody available. Bad example. Okay, so now I'm replacing him with Landeskog, who's obviously way more expensive. That's going to drop my projected cap space into the red. You can see this, though, didn't go red. It went orange. You are allowed to make a transaction that puts you over the cap. The assumption here is that you're going to do something pretty quick after that to get yourself back under the cap. But I'm going to let you make the transaction initially, and then you can go fix it on a separate transaction or with a trade or whatever else it is you're going to do. So that is the one thing you're allowed to do that makes your roster illegal technically, but you're still allowed to process it on your. If I were to attempt to replace him with a defenseman, well, yeah, sorry. Where was I? I'm going to replace him with a defenseman. So let's say I saw Alec Martinez before. Let's say I chose Alec Martinez. It's going to do two things. First of all, it puts me over the cap again, but that's not the real problem. The problem is that it's giving me too many defensemen on varsity. That's why this is red. I can't even make this transaction. It won't even know what to do with this. It'll just fail. So it won't let me do it at all. That's why this is red instead of just orange. Okay, I'm going to actually process a transaction here, but let me pick a team that's got an opening on JV. Okay, so I'm going to work with the Walleyes here. They have an opening on JV. I'm going to add a JV player. It's the simplest transaction we can do. So I go here, I go add to JV. This list is going to be filtered down to show me just JV eligible players. You can't add a JV ineligible player to JV. So I can pick anybody I want here. Let's pick Alex Cotton, whoever that is. I'm going to add him to JV. That's going to fill up my roster. Everything looks good. I'm green. Everything's golden. I'm going to click the box to submit. Now it takes a second. Sit here. Be patient with it. Don't get jumpy. You're going to see that box unchecks itself, and then a bunch of stuff gets hidden. This moved pretty quick for me. It might not move so quick for you, depending on your internet speed. If that box gets unchecked, it's in progress. Don't get jumpy. Don't click it again. It's going to screw everything up. Just let it go. You can see it's giving me some status updates here. First, it's recording the transaction. That's the first step always. The very first thing that happens in the script is that we record it. So we've got a record that, yep, you tried. The next thing it does is actually try to update the sheet. Ton of stuff working in the back end to make that happen. It's very complicated. It has to clear out the guys you're getting rid of to make room for the guys you're adding. Now, again, this is a super simple transaction. I'm just adding a JV player to an open spot, so it's going to be really quick. The last step here is resetting the form. Here it says you can now close the window, but it can take up to 10 minutes for this form. So I can actually literally close this browser altogether. You're going to see the colors are changing. All kinds of stuff is happening that you can't see in these hidden things. When it's done resetting itself, it's going to unhide these hidden cells, these hidden rows, and it's going to be back to normal. But if I go to the walleyes, I'm going to see, I mean, just at a glance, I can see already that my JV is full. So it added Alex Cotton. There he is. It found the spot for him. Now, if I were doing that, I could do that again. I'm not gonna, but if I were to be looking at this while I was processing that transaction, so let's say I clicked the box to submit, and then I came over here to watch it happen. It might take a minute. What actually happens is it queues up all the ads. So first it's going to clear out everyone, it's going to drop everyone, and then it's going to fill back in the holes. So again, this was a very straightforward move. All it was doing was adding the one player into the existing hole. But if I were dropping some players first and then adding some players, a lot of stuff is happening. It can take a little while for that to go down. Also, sometimes it just doesn't work. This is a completely homegrown solution. It's a relatively complicated script. I wrote it all. I learned it on the fly. I'm not an expert in coding. I just learned it, taught myself how to do it, and then built it. So it breaks. It doesn't work all the time. It's pretty miraculous that it works at all. So I always suggest that you come here, make sure it worked, make sure everything went exactly the way you thought it should. Now, again, in this case, it's just Alex Cotton. Yeah, he's there. We're good. Here he is, wherever, somewhere in this list. Here he is. Oh, he's a defenseman for Detroit. I didn't even know. But yes, it worked. He's in there. Great. Everything looks good. A more complicated thing, IR replacements, buyouts, drops, free drops, everything else. You're going to want to check all over the place. You're going to want to make sure like, oh, yep, IR looks good. I got the right guy on here. It was a second replacement. Yep, added one there. Cool. I also did a free drop. That X'd out. So just double check everything. Make sure everything's working okay. All right, I'm going to real quickly just remove Alex Cotton before I forget. This is a real life spreadsheet here. I'm also going to jump to the transaction log and just delete that one transaction from here so nobody gets confused. We can see it's still resetting. This form, it takes a while. It can take up to 10 minutes. The reason for that, the script is actually really quick, but the trigger runs once every 10 minutes. So if it's the beginning of that range while it's waiting for its next trigger, it's just going to sit. In the meantime, I can look at TP2. Now, as I mentioned, I've got 10 transactions here. I can stack up 10 transactions at a time. The more you do, the more likely it is to fail. That's just the reality of the script. It's pretty solid for one simple transaction, and the more complicated you get, the harder time it has working. But you can do as many as you can try to do as many as it shows. These are all the different types you can do. You can do an add to varsity, and you can do a drop from varsity to make room for the guy that you want to add. The order that you do these things in, it doesn't matter. It's going to process all of them at once. That's really all there is to say about the transaction portal. It's a couple years old, so it hasn't been around forever. Definitely still a work in progress. We're still kind of working out some of the kinks. If you have issues with it, things aren't working or whatever, definitely let me know because we want to get those bugs worked out. Now, this is all great. It looks great. It's beautiful when you're working on your computer. When you're working on your phone, it is a little bit trickier. Again, there's a lot more scrolling involved, a little bit of work to be done there. I'm going to attempt to join from my phone. I'm going to join this call from my phone so that I can share the screen from my phone. Now, again, in order to make this work from your phone, I highly recommend that you download the app. The app is free. It's the official Google Sheets or Google Drive apps. Really, you should do both. Um, Having the app is going to make it a
A
lot.
lot smoother.
Yeah.
No, I definitely don't need that camera on.
Now
Now I'm
I'm gonna
gonna
mute this. Yes, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna share my. Hold on, getting. Okay, now I'm gonna share my screen from the phone just so you can see how this works. Sharing a screen from your phone does actually show your entire phone, so don't judge me for the apps that I have or anything else. Great. So I'm going to go over to a league spreadsheet. The SFHL one is coming up first, so I'll just click that. Now, again, I can look at the whole spreadsheet here. I can zoom in and zoom out. I can move all around and see everything I might need to see just to get an idea if I'm, looking for information, looking who do I have on my team. I'm watching a game on TV. I don't remember who's on my damn team, so I go here. So I can do all that. On the bottom of the app here, I can see all the different, I don't know if you can see that on the screen or not, but at the bottom, you see the different tabs. Anyway, I'm going to go to the transaction portal. This is TP1. See if I can get my video out of the way. There. So at the top here, it looks the same as it does on your computer. It's just you might have to zoom in and out. And it's hard to see both the transaction assistant and the portal. Also, this little helper thing does not actually work on the phone. So you'd have to go to your computer to get that information. I'm going to click here. I'm going to select my team. So I highlight the cell, and then from down here at the bottom, I can see the list. I'm going to pick my team, and then I can start processing my transactions. So I'm going to come down here to the first one. Again, go to the drop down, and I'm going to add to JV. And then I'm going to choose my player. And here's the long list. Now it gets a little finicky. You saw it just disappeared on me. That happens. On the phone, it's trying to process this huge amount of data, which is this list of players, and it has a hard time. Now, one thing that does make this a little bit easier is to actually hit this little keyboard icon. This is still going to give you that list. You can actually scroll with your finger across here and see all the different players. But it seems to just play a little bit nicer. It loads a little bit better. Also, as you start typing a player's name, it starts to whittle down that list. Now just seeing all the Simons or the Simons, if you will. And then when I find the one I want, I can just tap his name. Now, if that wasn't the guy I wanted, I can tap this cell and hit clear. And then I can go back here and look again for the next guy. Now, if you want to add a guy who's not in the database, that is actually allowed. Just be careful with the spelling, and then maybe give me a heads up that you added somebody who's not in the database. He's got to be 18 years old. He's got to be eligible for JV. And you got to spell his name right. For the most part, go to Fantrax to find the guy's spelling. That's the official spelling we're going to go with most of the time. But if I wanted to just add myself and I'm not in the database, as long as I spell my own name right, I hit the check mark. It's going to flag it in red. I don't know if you can see that there. Little red mark in the corner. But it's still going to let you process that transaction. Obviously, the player's not going to have any salary information or anything like that because he's not in our database, but that's how you would do that. Now, adding a player here works exactly the same as on the computer. You just click that checkbox next to submit. And then again, it's going to give you the same feedback as you see on your computer when you're doing it that way. So let's just go ahead and add Alex Cotton again here. We'll add him to the. Oops, I spelled it wrong. Obviously, a little trickier to do on your phone. Check. And I'm just going to hit the checkbox. Again, it takes a second sometimes, but eventually it will go. You see that check mark disappeared, and then it jumps to the progress bar here. So I can watch it do its thing. Again, I highly recommend just sitting here and letting it do its thing until it gets to the reset step. Once it's at the reset step, you can get out of here and do whatever you want. So you see there, I mean, it works pretty well on the phone. This app will be the same if you're trying to do it on your iPad. This is the official Google Sheets app, and highly recommend using that app. As long as I'm on the app, you're going to notice I don't have that Capwise menu anywhere, that Capwise hockey menu anywhere. So just something to be aware of. That's not available on the phone. This says it's good to go. I'm going to actually hard close the app on an iPhone. That's a scroll up swipe thing. I just think that keeps the sheet a little fresher. It seems to work a little bit better if you do that anytime you're not using it. And that's all. I'm going to stop that share and I'm out of the meeting. Okay, good. So that is the Capwise spreadsheet. There's one for every league. You're going to want to bookmark it, but again, you can get to it from the website. If you got any questions about it, certainly don't hesitate to reach out. Again, there's no bad questions. So happy to help.